Hi, it's Heather again from K-Doozy. We're in the second part of the videos on hope and privilege. So let's unpack this a bit. Who is saying that they feel hopeful about the future or they feel hopeless about the future? Is it someone who is very well off, a Western white middle-class person, and they feel like they will be able to continue this lifestyle in the future? Or they feel like things are going to change and get worse? Who is saying that? Is it an Indigenous person here in Colombia? Is it someone with Black children in Chicago, Minneapolis, Portland, in the United States? And they say, I feel hopeful about the future. I feel hopeless about the future. How does it change when you know who is saying this? And again, feel free to share your thoughts in the Facebook group in the guide called Hope and Privilege, or sign up for a workshop sometime. And as I alluded to in the other bits, what kind of present is this person experiencing? Do they have a good present, a difficult present? Do they have trouble finding clean water, adequate food, shelter? Do they face violence every day? What is their present like? How might that be different from your present? We're questioning assumptions here, and it can have an effect on our nervous systems. So just notice what effect it's having and look around. Look around at your present. And then again, what does it say about the future? We think things are going to get better, worse, or stay the same. Are things so good that we want them to stay the same? Are things so bad that they really must get better, or we're going to die, we're not going to survive? So there's all these assumptions being made about who is saying that, about what their present is like and what their future is like. And then what's it say about the past? What kind of childhood did this person have? What kind of progress have they seen? Is it someone whose people face genocide and already face collapse of their way of life? Because when we think about collapse, we tend to think that we've got a pretty good present, and the way we live is going to collapse. So if we're used to going to Starbucks, if we're used to going to the mall, going to the cinema, if we're used to having the internet, all of these things that we take for granted about our current way of life, if those things were going to change, that could feel hopeless, that that we wouldn't have those things. And there are people who already experienced collapse because, for example, their indigenous way of life was taken away. The way they socialize, what they eat, what they do with their free time, how they contribute to society, all changed due to genocide and colonialism. So they've already experienced how devastating that is. And I really encourage you to do this with other people, even if it's not in the Facebook group or in workshops. With me, you could watch these videos with your own groups, with friends, family, just to start questioning things together. And it's in this engagement with other minds that we are able to develop our thinking and regulate our nervous systems together. So it could be, in terms of changes, that the person doesn't want anything to change. They're hopeful that nothing's going to change for them, that they can still expect their children to go to university, that they'll get married, have children, that all of that's going to happen. Or they could feel hopeful that clean water is going to be more readily available. So what kinds of changes, if any, is being implied, depending on who is saying this? Feel free to pause the video to write some reflections down. And lastly, what does all this say about our privilege? I like to imagine a Zoom call with 100 people, and you've probably seen those descriptions of what the world would be like if it was only 100 people. How many people would be Christian? How many would be Muslim? How many would speak what language? How many would have access to clean water, etc.? You imagine the Zoom call, and you imagine like 99 people sharing their day-to-day hardships, about not getting enough to eat, about work, about survival. And then there's the one person on the call who's middle class, white, Western, representing that percentage of the population. And they're worrying about the future. They're not worrying about the present. They're worrying about their own future or the future of their children or their grandchildren. They're not worried about the present of other people. They're putting their time and attention and resource into thinking about the future. And of course, there will be some people that do both. But they're helping people now who are suffering, and they are worrying about the future for everybody. But there's a choice in that, isn't there? There's a choice that I'm going to put my attention on other people's presence because I don't have to put attention on my own present because I have the privilege to not, because I'm okay. So it's a privilege to have that choice. Okay. That is it for this video on hope and privilege. You can check out in the description links to the Facebook group, how to join, links to book a workshop. And I'm here in Colombia. The cost of living is really low, which means that any amount of British pounds or US dollars would go a long way to helping us do this work and make it free to the public on YouTube, etc. So if you can make a donation, I'd really appreciate it. It's on PayPal. You can donate to Heather Luna 1. And I hope to see you soon.